welcome all to yet another episode of the Talk Show, Tourism, Hospitality and Aviation. Today's guest is a very close colleague of mine, and also by my experience I can say she's an excellent team player. Apart from that, she's a multitasker. She's an enterprising woman as well as an academician. So let's welcome Miss Anita Shekhar. Anita, how are you?
Hi Sajan, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So far, so good. It's COVID time.
I
Anita,
know.
today's idea of conversation would be two areas. One is you as a tour manager, because many young aspirants want to know what is this job, and they look forward to looking at this job. They can travel the world as such. And the other one
Right.
is you as an academician and a multitasker. These are two areas that we'll speak about your profile today for the discussion.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's get on to the job straightforward. Is that Anita? How did you start off being an academician? One part, and how did you start your career as in tourism, in active tourism in both the areas?
As far as academician is concerned, as far as teaching is concerned, that happened purely by accident. I was approached by Babsi ma'am to come on board and kind of share my experiences with the children, with the students, with the aspiring tourism students. So she said, since you're already into international tour management, why don't you come on board and why don't you share your experiences? So I started off strictly as a guest lectures with very, very few lectures. The times that I would manage to be here in Mumbai is when I would go to Karware Institute, which is the institute where I graduated from, and speak to them. And that's when I realized that I love doing this. Young minds, uh, full of energy, full of enthusiasm. I just loved interacting with them, and I just loved seeing the instant reaction which they would give me. And that's how I became an academician. The other thing is, how did I get interested in tourism? I don't remember a single time when I was not interested in tourism. Right from my childhood, I think I would sound absolutely cliche, like most of our students do, when I say that I love to travel, and that's it. So I wanted a job which would take me places, which would take me to all those places that I have read about or dreamt about. And that's how I pursued this interest of mine. And that's how I got enrolled in Garware and went on to become an international tour manager.
Anita, I think the conversation is going to be very interesting. Many of the viewers want to know where you went, what have you done, things and so forth. To start with, yes, we would like to know what is MICE? किस चिड़िया का नाम है ये? What is MICE exactly? For those who do not know.
MICE is an acronym, and the full form is Meetings, Incentive, Conferences, and Exhibitions. So in short, to a layman, if I have to explain, I would say anything to do with corporate travel will come under the brand, will come under this particular sphere of tourism, which is called as MICE. So whether the person is going out of his office to some other part of the city to conduct meetings, to conduct sales meetings maybe, or offshores meeting, or probably even sales product launches, or the ones who have achieved their targets and they want to celebrate, the company then takes them on an incentive tour. Or they want to go and visit an exhibition that is happening pertaining to their industry. So like you have the pharmaceutical exhibitions, or you have the plastic exhibition, or you have auto care. So some of the companies who are working in this, they take their employees, or they ask the employees to go to these exhibitions and explore the new innovations, the new ideas, the way things have changed, what are the experiments that are being done, how they can inculcate these things in their company, etc. So all those things come under the sphere of MICE.
So one area of difference would be that in sales, especially, you are in touch with the corporate directly, not with the individual. Am I right? If I'm not
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are in touch with the company.
Right. Right. So when you're making a my itinerary, being a little technical, I want to know about it. Making a MICE itinerary, how is it different from making a leisure itinerary? Is there anything you keep in mind when you're making a MICE in particular?
Okay. So as I just told you that MICE encompasses four major areas. That's meetings, incentives, conferences or conventions, and exhibitions and events. Each of this is different. So if you're making a tour or if you're making an itinerary for each, it's different from one another. So what may work for a meeting will definitely not work for an incentive. What may work for an incentive doesn't necessarily or definitely does not work for an exhibition or an event. So event is something that is fixed. So all you got to do is maybe indent the hotels, the supply, the various components of the tour, like accommodation, transfers, you know, from hotel to the exhibition ground and back, providing them probably lunches if they want to during the exhibitions, whether they are an exhibitor or they're just going there to look at the various products that are being displayed. So every itinerary is different. Incentives, we strictly do or we try and follow whatever is, you need to read the RFQ, which is request for quote, which the company sends. So we make products exactly according to the RFQ. Whereas a leisure is a place where the big difference between a MICE and a leisure is that in leisure, the person on tour is the one who is paid for it. Whereas in MICE, it is the company which pays for your travel. So here you may be working for the company or you may be sent by the company because you've achieved the target to celebrate the same. Whereas in leisure, it is entirely your holiday. You are on a vacation.
That gets other question is which area were you involved in getting people into India and taking them around in India, or was it that you take people from India to other nations, or was it both? How was it like?
So I worked primarily with international tours. I've always worked in international sector where I have taken Indians to whichever part of the world they want to go to.
Interesting, interesting. So yes, everybody wants to know is that which are the places you have visited on work, and which is the best place that you like in terms of international destinations concerned.
I get that question a lot. As far as which are the places that I have visited, well, the list, I honestly, I haven't counted, but I know that there are so many places and countries that I have not visited where I definitely want to visit. I want to visit each and every corner of the world. Um, so I have visited almost all, yeah, I have visited all the continents except for an Antarctica and South America. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
And which are the
Destination you
countries?
sorry.
Which is the one that's my favorite? The list again is extremely long, Sergeant. Each place is different. Each place experience is different. But yes, I am more of a nature person. So the countries that fascinate me a lot, and let me put it this way, the countries that I would want to go back again and again will be Iceland, Ireland, New Zealand, probably all the lands.
Okay. All right. Now, on a serious note, because there are a lot of youngsters that I've dealt with in Garwara itself, and especially girls, or let's say women as such, want to join as a tour manager. All right. They're aspiring to do it. And every year by year, number of girls coming forward to saying that we can do domestic tours also for internship. And they look forward for this job. So what are the qualities required to be an international tour manager as such? What is your views on that in particular?
If you're aiming at being an international tour manager, there are certain common or general qualities that we look at. Topping the list will be empathy.
Uh-huh. Okay.
and emotional intelligence. Presence of mind is another thing that I feel is extremely important. And how good are you in problem solving? You always need to remember that you are not there to manage the destination. You are there to manage a group of people who are there to enjoy the destination. You always need to remember that you are not on holiday, you are at work. So these are the few things that I feel everybody should realize. Anybody who aspires to be a tour manager should realize whether they have these qualities in them or not. And you also need to be extremely fearless. You cannot get bogged down by problems that occur on tour, because there is no tour which has no problem. It is inevitable. So are you fearless? Can you face it? And since you asked me specifically international, product knowledge about the region is another thing that is a must for being a tour manager.
Uh, uh, Anita, it proceeds to other questions that it is always said that, oh, it's a tour manager, domestic or international. You know, the companies have got a viewpoint that let's keep women away. You know, it's better to have men because they have to be away for 4 months and, you know, so on and so forth. What is your take on that? Do you think is it really the justification that the corporate gives? Is it right, and we should not encourage women as a tour manager specifically?
It is a huge misconception that tour companies do not encourage women as tour managers. No, we have quite a number of successful lady tour managers in the industry as of today. Yes, the time when I started off, it was women who themselves didn't know that there is something called as being a lady tour manager, and they themselves did not explore this. As far as tour manager is concerned, well, you can be a domestic or you can be an international one. We prefer women in international and not in domestic, primarily for the safety and security of the lady herself. That's the main reason. International, it's better um, than in domestic, and hence we prefer that women, we prefer women in international sectors. Having said that, as I said just a few minutes back, you need to be fearless. You need to have complete control of your emotions. You cannot get bogged down by problems which occur on a tour. See, when you are on tour, you are the representative of the company. So if I'm a tour with ABC Travels, I am ABC Travels for those 50 odd passengers, for those 50 odd guests who are there with me on tour. So everything on tour becomes my responsibility. It has to be seamless, and I have to ensure that it is. So there's a lot of planning involved. And yes, you're human, so there are times when you overlook at something, and when there are times when problem occurs, guests will be annoyed. So when they are annoyed and when they're screaming at you, you cannot just get bogged down and start crying. No, you have to start quickly thinking about what can I do to negate it, or what can I do to solve it. So if you think you have that ability, go for it. If you think you can take it, go for it.
So just putting the same thing in other words, in a foreign country, you are alone and you have 50 of your guests with you. The responsibility is very, very high. Even though you have an itinerary, you have a plan, you have things in place, but in an airport, say maybe in Heathrow Airport, 50 people of your guests, the responsibility is very high. Am I right?
Right. Of course.
All right. Okay, so we'll move to the next phase of our conversation today, and that is you as an academician. How different, how different it is being an academician and a practitioner as in tourism. Is there a major difference in the two?
Of course, because here you're creating what are the possible, all the possible things that the aspirants will go through in the industry when they start working. So here you have the responsibility of creating and shaping their thinking, their thought process, their ability, their capabilities, their attitude. Um, you have the responsibility of doing all of that. Whereas in the industry, you have a different set of responsibility, as in your responsibility is to ensure that a person who is traveling and who is enjoying his holiday enjoys it the way he has envisaged. Here, you're making your students capable of understanding that vision a person who is coming to your office for a holiday. You're making your students understand the same.
Anita, since the conversation is getting interesting, what are the challenges you face as an academician? I can understand when you say about tour, everybody can understand what it is, since we're in the same industry. But as an academician, very little people know what are challenges a faculty or a course coordinator like you face as a person.
The biggest challenge that we face is trying to bridge the gap between academic and what the industry really needs. So that's one of the biggest ones that we face. We may think as academicians, or we may think as a part of the university, that these things are important to be taught. Whereas when you go to the industry, you realize that this is redundant. What we've taught is redundant. So that's one thing that we face. That's always something that we face, and we keep trying to bridge the gap as best as possible by speaking to people in the industry and by making them contribute to the course, making them contribute to what is needed and what is to be taught to the students. The second thing that we face, and something that you will also agree to, is our institute or our course is skill based. So when the students come, they are coming from a regular college. They don't understand that the institute, the program they have enrolled in, is no longer regular, is no longer a regular college. It is going to be directly proportional to their jobs, the skills required at the department where they're going to be going to. So making them understand this and getting their attitude on track is another thing that we face. But those are the challenges which make it also interesting. They come with such raw energy that it's amazing. Each student teaches you so much.
I relate to it because I'm also in the same industry for a long time now.
Exactly.
So last question on academics, was it by default or was it by choice that you got into as a teacher? What is it like? On a lighter note.
Okay, that makes me think, was it by choice? Sajjan, I have done everything that I have done by choice. So I would say that purely by choice, but yes, the opportunity was something that I did not expect. It was served to me and I grabbed it. I've been extremely lucky that I have got this opportunity, and I thought of exploring this sphere and enjoyed it.
So audience, young audience, a strong message from Ms. Anita is the fact that opportunities come, you got to be prepared. As it comes, you need to take it to your benefit. So it will not come when you want it, it comes when it has to come. You have to be prepared for it. Going forward, now what you do and what is the role that you play as apart from academician, you are a business consultant in tourism. I give a free thing for how to start with. What is that you do in here, and how do you go about doing services?
So I would like to call myself a freelance tour consultant.
Okay.
I do help a lot of people in plan their holiday to the best, to, to the absolute best. So what I do is a lot of contacts that I have built over so many years that I've been there in this industry, be it my regular clients or be it my friends and relatives or whoever wants an experiential tour, I am there to help you out. I usually prefer not to do the run around the mill because there are too many of them doing it, and that's not what motivates me anymore. So use me or use my knowledge to its best. Since I have been to so many places, I would like to put that knowledge into use by giving people a very different experience. So they may go to the same place like a London, or they may go to the same place like a Singapore, which probably tops the list of an Indian audience, of an average Indian audience, but doing it differently, or doing it, experiencing things that probably they wouldn't have thought about, is what I now do. So what I do is I just simply listen to what they want and what interests them. So yes, I spend a lot of time in understanding what is their interest, which they themselves probably will not be knowing. So there are times when we have discovered that a person is actually interested in, say, a natural history science, that sector. So then I plan out a tour of London with those kind of museums and those kind of areas where he can go and explore it to its, to satisfy that interest of his. So I have clients who come and tell me that we want to go to a Singapore for a week, but we don't want to do all the common things that everybody does. So then we start thinking about what more can we do. So in this process, I have learned so much about a place. So there are these tiny little places, local places, which people don't go in Singapore, which they have been to, which my clients have been to and have thoroughly enjoyed it. Or they have stayed in Sentosa Island and done Sentosa extensively for 2 days or 3 days, done each and every ride that is there in Universal for a nice 2 days or something of that sort. So experiential tours is what I currently do. I also help out a couple of friends of mine who are in my business by doing the logistic management of the tour. So once they have acquired a business, the next step, how to go about it and how to actually plan the entire tour with 200 people, 500 people coming from different parts of India, how to get them to a place, what to do with them, how to manage all these 500 people, how do you do those various smaller itineraries in that one tour, is what I do currently.
So Anita, the fact is that you are into business as an experienced person and being a woman. Uh, what is your thought process? Should there be more women entrepreneurs in tourism? Do you encourage that part of it, or do you think you start very slowly, you get yourself going, get your contacts well, put it there, and then if you want to, if you think you have the metal in you, then go in for it. What is the approach that you would have as such?
Okay. The first part of the question, whether I would encourage women to be in business, most definitely. Most definitely. Because women are very good at multitasking. And tourism industry's business is all about multitasking. So you will excel. Take it from me, you will. Second part of the question is, when do you become an entrepreneur? Ideally, I would say, yes, spend some time in the industry, try and understand the business, try and understand the Indian market, try and understand the Indian traveler first, and then, yes, go for the business. But before you go for the business, you have to be very clear what interests you, And what is it that you are going to value add? What is it that you're going to bring new to the table? If you're going to be like 10 other people, you have to think very hard. Why will they come to the 11th one?
तो हिंदी में कहते हैं तड़का, जो तड़का होना चाहिए, the main dish will be the same, but the way you dress it and you present it and how differentiate
Treat it.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
That gets to the next question. You said women are multitaskers, okay? And I have seen you also. You have front, you have home front, you have two courses in Garhwal that you take care of bachelors and masters, and you have your teaching. So it's a lot of things that are going around. How do you manage it? Because you are going to be a inspiration to many of the listeners, the young girls actually. So how do you manage all this? What is the secret?
But there is no secret. Two things that I have always done, and I have followed my mentor in the same, is make a checklist. I may sound absolutely cliche, but make a to-do every day. And that's something that I do at the beginning of the day. To do. This is the work that I need to do for the day. And prioritize it. Trust me, it makes your life extremely simple. Be extremely disciplined in following the same. Yes, there are going to be sudden challenges that are going to crop up. There are going to be sudden things, problems that are going to crop up, and they become your priority. But don't end the day without having finished whatever is your to do. And thanks for telling me that I am I'm a good multitasker. Also, I have a great team, a beautiful team of faculty members. I definitely have their complete support, as well as people at office work and home who let me do all these things.
Anita, I take the word last question definitely, but the conversation is very interesting. Last question, you take it from your own words and use the word discipline. Some thoughts on that, because how do I inculcate discipline as a 20-year-old or 21, 22 years old person, and so that I can get going with my daily task and daily routine and things like that. I understand how do you inculcate that discipline in oneself?
Expecting a 20-year-old to be disciplined is too much. Why do we put so much of pressure on today's students? Don't. Let them enjoy life, because they are in the phase where they are in college and they are, they're not going to get these days back. So let them enjoy. The only thing that they need to remember is that they are doing this for their future. The minute they remember that, the very minute they will start understanding priority in life. Simple. So the minute they see that, yes, whatever we are being taught or the assignments that are being given to us is for our benefit, they will start doing it themselves instead of procrastinating and doing it the time when they have to submit it.
All right, Anita, we have spent good 30 minutes having this conversation, and I believe my audience will have lots to take from it. Okay, because she spoke 2 or 3 aspects of her profile and work is concerned. I don't want to summarize it because she has done so well, she's spoken up so well that it's easy to understand what she speaks otherwise through the conversation. So thank you, Anita. And yes,
Thank you so much, Arjun.
I extend this invitation to you also. When we have webinar and we need speakers, I'll be coming to you to be one of the panel members as such in some
Definitely.
topic.
Definitely, anytime. Thank you so much, Arjun.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.